Beyoncé had a little problem. In 2013, she was invited to perform the national anthem at the presidential inauguration of President Barack Obama, but she didn't have enough time to prepare and properly rehearse, so she used a pre-recorded track instead of singing it live, which means basically she lip-synced. The performance was flawless though, but maybe a little too flawless. Soon after, reports of that started surfacing online. Critics accused her of lip-syncing during one of the biggest moments of her career. The story exploded. For days, people debated whether one of the world's biggest singers had faked her performance, but Beyoncé had a plan. She was already scheduled to headline the Super Bowl halftime show, but days before that, she had a conference for the show. At that conference, she walked onto the stage and sang the entire national anthem live, with no music, no backing track, no vocal support, and nothing to lean on but her own voice. When she finished, she looked at the crowd and asked, "Any questions?" Basically saying, "I'm Beyoncé. I didn't lip sync because I wasn't good enough. I just didn't have enough time to prepare and didn't want to risk a mistake on such an important event." Michael Jackson was obsessed with perfection, and sometimes it was a bit too much. In the studio, he didn't just record a song once and move on. If something didn't feel right, he would record it over and over and over again until it sounded exactly how he wanted it. Sometimes he did this many times for just one small part of a song. It wasn't because the first try was bad, it was because he wanted it to feel perfect. He could notice small details most people wouldn't think about, like how a word sounds or how a note feels. That's why his songs sound so clean and strong, because he kept working on them until they were absolutely perfect. But you see, that might seem like a very good trait on the surface, but I can tell you firsthand that it's emotionally exhausting. Noticing every single thing about every little thing is a mental state that can absolutely drain you. Jay-Z was 26 years old and still couldn't get signed by any record label. The music industry wasn't convinced it was the future because he was kind of old, so music executives weren't rushing to give him the opportunity he wanted. And apart from that, they just didn't believe he was good enough. They didn't believe in his style. They didn't think he had what it took to become the next breakout star. But Jay-Z believed they were wrong. So instead of continually asking to be accepted, he started his own record label, the Rockefeller Records. And in 1998, through that label, he released an album called Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, which became a #1 album on the Billboard 200 and included the hit song Hard Knock Life, which pushed him into mainstream success. The same artist who struggled to get a record deal was now one of the biggest names in music, and everything since then they say is history. So maybe nobody will ever believe in you. Maybe all you will ever have is yourself. Adele's body has been a topic on the internet for over a decade. When she was bigger, people mocked her, called her fat, left nasty comments all over the internet. And when she lost weight over 100 pounds, people still wouldn't stop talking. The same internet who mocked her for being bigger turned around and criticized her for losing the weight, called her too skinny, said someone pressured her into it. And Adele herself said the most brutal comments were from her fellow women. When she was bigger, she was mocked. When she lost weight, she was attacked. You genuinely cannot win. So do you, please, because no matter what you do, people will talk. Remember when Adele cursed out a fan at a concert? Yeah, but here's the part you probably missed. It was June 1st, 2024, the first day of Pride Month. Adele was mid-show when someone from the crowd yelled, "Pride sucks." Adele stopped the show for a moment and said, "Did you come to my effing show and just say Pride sucks? Are you effing stupid? Don't be so effing ridiculous. If you got nothing nice to say, shut up." The crowd went wild. The video went viral. Everyone praised her. But then the plot twist came. Fans who were sitting right next to the guy said he didn't say Pride sucks at all. He said work sucks, because Adele had been talking about working. So Adele got up in front of thousands of people and cursed out a man who was just complaining about his job. To be fair, Adele felt she had something offensive and that she needed to address it, because the community it was supposedly addressed to was a core part of her fan base. But on the other hand, maybe she should have apologized to the guy later on for misunderstanding him. Sabrina Carpenter spent years in middle-tier pop. You know, that space where she wasn't unknown, but she wasn't well-known either. She was active, releasing music, performing, building a fan base, and staying consistent. But she wasn't dominating charts or trending everywhere online. And that's actually one of the hardest and most depressive states for an artist to be, because you are visible enough to be recognized, but not big enough to be everywhere. In that space, a lot of artists fade out over time, but Sabrina didn't disappear. She kept releasing music, kept improving, and kept building her identity as an artist. So when her mainstream success came, it didn't come from nowhere. It came from years of staying in a space most artists don't survive long enough to grow out of. So maybe this is your sign to not give up. Hold on a little. Selena Gomez almost died and nobody knew. Selena was diagnosed with lupus at just 16 years old. For those who don't know, lupus is a disease where your own immune system turns against your body and starts attacking your organs from the inside. She spent her entire rise to fame fighting that battle silently. Then it got worse. Her kidneys totally gave out. Doctors told her it was life or death. She needed a transplant immediately. And here's where the story gets breathtaking. She didn't want to ask a single person in her life for a kidney. Not one person. But her best friend found out and volunteered without being asked. The surgery happened in secret over the summer of 2017. Nobody knew. She kept it totally hidden and revealed it to the world months later through an Instagram post. Did you know this? Ariana Grande might be the most protected celebrity on the internet because every time she gets backlash, people suddenly start acting like criticizing her is illegal. The internet treats her like someone you're not supposed to touch. The way I see it, Ariana Grande doesn't have fans. She has security guards to profile pictures. Ariana Grande was never treated the same after the Manchester incident. Before 2017, she was just another massive pop star. But after the attack at her concert, the internet stopped looking at Ariana like just a celebrity. People started looking at her like someone emotionally wounded. And since then, criticizing Ariana online feels different to people. Almost like the world silently decided she's already been through enough. Nicki Minaj had a little problem. The Grammys kept overlooking her. Why? You see, in the early 2010s, Nicki Minaj had already established herself as one of the biggest names in rap. Her songs were everywhere, her albums were dominating charts, and her influence on pop culture was undeniable. But when the Grammy season came around, something always felt off. Nicki would get nominated, fans would expect a win, but more often than not, she would leave without the big award. And that started the conversation. Was she being overlooked, or was it just extremely tough competition? Because you see, during Nicki Minaj's rise, she wasn't operating in an empty lane. She was competing in an era dominated by some of the biggest names in rap history. So every category was a battle, and even her massive hits didn't guarantee a win, because others had massive hits too. And in award shows like the Grammys, several factors determine whether or not you win: timing, categories, voting decisions behind the scenes, and whatnot. Do I feel like she should have won in some of those categories? Absolutely. Do I feel she was being deliberately overlooked? Maybe, maybe not. But you see, maybe she doesn't need the Grammys to validate her influence on pop culture. Everyone knows her impact is undeniable. The Grammys may not always have reflected it, but everyone knows, and that's all that matters. Nicki Minaj spent $30,000 for her brother Jelani's wedding. 200 guests attended. She cried at his first dance. She posted photos on Instagram saying, "I love my brother so much. Tonight has been one of my favorite nights of all time. There's nothing I wouldn't do to make my brother smile." 4 months later, everything collapsed. Jelani was charged with repeatedly raping his 11-year-old stepdaughter, the daughter of the woman he had just married. The little girl testified that the abuse happened as frequently as 4 times in a week, sometimes 2 times a day. Her younger brother, just 8 years old, also testified that he had once walked in on one of those assaults. To tighten the case up, prosecutors found Jelani's DNA on the girl's pajamas. What was Jelani's defense? He claimed the whole thing was a $25 million extortion plot against Nicki Minaj. The jury didn't buy it. I don't either. I feel like it just tainted Nicki's name in a weird kind of way. I'll never understand child sex offenders, you know. Toronto acts like Drake is part of the government, and I'm not even joking. This city has allowed Drake shut down streets, use city property for music videos, and recently during the rollout for the Iceman album, Drake literally filmed inside City Hall. And not only that, he sat inside the mayor's office and wore the mayor's ceremonial chain. Why does Toronto love Drake this much?